On to Newcastle, Pete. There are reports that Newcastle are making some kind of low-end bids for Jonathan David, obviously in his final 6 months of his contract in France. Do they feel this is an opportunity to kind of help them push for top four and get into Champions League so they'll actually have a little bit more headroom next season?
Yeah, look, Jonathan David is a player that we've talked about for a long time now. I think it's pretty inevitable that he will leave Lille in the summer. I don't imagine they would let him leave in this winter window, especially now they've qualified in the top 8 for the Champions League, so they have got a last 16 Champions League knockout game to look forward to in February, and Jonathan David has been instrumental in the success. I'm not sure it's actually been Newcastle trying these cheeky bids for Jonathan David. I think it's coming from elsewhere around Europe, but he is going to be a man in demand this summer, no doubts about that, as a free agent. He's at a good age, 25 years old, a prolific goal scorer. He's got over 100 goals for Lille in just over 200 games. And as I said, 6 goals in the Champions League this season for Lille. That's pretty impressive going. And he enhanced his reputation with that goal against Liverpool the other week in the Champions League as well. So it's not going to be just Newcastle who are sniffing around Jonathan David. There's been talk that Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Juventus, teams in Spain as well, even Barcelona have been mentioned with him. So look, he's going to be hot property come this summer as a free agent because he will be one of the best free agents on the market. So Newcastle, I'm sure, would love to sign somebody like Jonathan David because he fits the profile of the age and a good goal scorer as well, and could be somebody who could act as a good foil with Alexander Isak as well. But I think it's going to be a difficult deal for them to do unless they get Champions League football at Newcastle next season, because I'm sure there'll be Champions League clubs who will be lining up to sign Jonathan David on a free in the summer.
And Paul, Richarlison is constantly being linked with an exit from Tottenham, all the way dating back to the summer and through right now as we talk. Do you think Newcastle might launch a shock bid to kind of try and secure his signature before the end of the window if Tottenham really do become kind of sellers on him right before deadline day?
I think that we spoke before about the Tottenham squad being imbalanced, and I think they're heavily weighted in the forward areas, aren't they? Richarlison is just getting back fit. He's another player that likes to run the games. I've gone on record before saying how much I like him. I like his attitude. The end product might not always be there with him, and there might be a little bit of frustration that it's not worked for him at Tottenham, but you see his love for the game, you see his passion every time that he comes on the pitch, and he's a player that opposition teams love to hate, and he's a really good player to have in your dressing room. You know what you're getting from him every time he comes on, and I think to his own detriment, he's been versatile. He can play left as a 10, he can play on the right, he can play as a 9, and I think when the squad does rotate, the team does rotate, he's quite often a victim of rotation because he plays in so many positions, and actually with his pace is an impact off the bench. Would I be sad to see him go? Yeah, I would, because I think listen, if it was a choice between him and Timo Werner, for me, Werner goes. You much rather keep Richarlison, but Daniel Levy, as we know, he drives a hard bargain. Paid 50 million for him, they're not going to get anything near that now. So I don't think Tottenham are in a situation where they have to sell, they don't have to speculate to accumulate. It would have to be somewhere near that 50 million mark. We know that Newcastle can afford it, but because of the rules, again, soapbox, stand on the soapbox, backing the Newcastle fans with their team, the rules are ridiculous for the clubs that are trying to grow. They can afford Richarlison, they can afford 10 Richarlisons, they can afford 20 Richarlisons, but actually under these rules they're not allowed to do it. So would they hope? They're probably, what I'm going round in circles about saying, they probably wouldn't overplay. They would like him in the squad, but they won't overpay for a player that won't be held to ransom by Tottenham, and Tottenham won't let him go without getting somewhere near the 50, which they won't get.
Imagine having 10 Richarlisons on the pitch at the same time, my word.
Pray for the other team.
That would be an eye-opener. I think the ref would be very busy that day.